Are you ready?
If you think about it at the end of the day.
All right, Kayla, lead us.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Judah. He's 25. Happy birthday to you. Cringy.
I'm sure we were all in and out.
Yeah. But worth it.
Pretty sure everybody was on a different part of the song.
He's wanting for you.
That was so beautiful. Our workshop tonight, everybody, is called The Main Thing. Judah, this was your idea. Happy birthday.
Oh, no, I'm muted.
Oh, no, you're not.
Oh, okay.
No, I heard you. All right. Don't you worry.
Cool.
Losing all of your technical ability in your old age. So Judah mentioned that it would be a good idea to talk about all the other messages we hear from the world and how to keep Jesus' voice and his message the main thing. So we're just titling this message The Main Thing. How do we keep the main thing, Jesus' message, the main thing? So let's level up in that in a world where, great follow-up to the social media workshop we had last week. We're in a world not only of the digital age, but an age of advertisements, of everybody trying to get your attention, make you listen to their voice, and to get you to buy in. They want their message to be the main thing in your life. Disclaimer, I don't think you should be guilty about, buying things on Amazon, finding things you enjoy, but we have to understand, and like I've been saying a lot lately, self-assess what world we are in and how to keep Jesus' message as the main thing when we are so bombarded with other messages. So make sure you grab some notes for this. We do have some interesting stats and some fill-ins for this. So let's level up. Oh, we're already to a fill-in. Check this out, everybody. We now see blank ads per day, and it's getting worse. Give me a number. How many ads do you think the average person sees per day? Students and leaders, what do you think?
100.
100 ads per day.
I'm pretty sure every fourth item on a Facebook feed is a sponsored ad. So think about how long you sit there and scroll.
Yep.
Too many.
Cam, what do you guys think? How many ads do you think you see a day?
I don't know.
Give us a number. 100 or more?
100.
You think 100 as well?
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, you got a guess?
I would say like 350.
Got 100 and 350. All right. Anybody else? Take a stab at it.
351.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Price is right, baby. Come on down. You guys are horrible at this. We see over 5,000 ads per day, and it's getting worse. You guys would have been right actually in the 70s. In the 70s, the stats say we would have been seeing 500 ads per day in America. 500 back in the 70s, 5,000 and upward of that now in 2020. That is insane. Great book called The Cross-Centered Life by C.J. Mahaney. It's a small book, please, if you have some time, you're like wanting to get a new book, this is a great, very short read. I almost read the whole thing again today. It's very short, thin book, but it's powerful, by C.J. Mahaney. So you'll see a few quotes from him today in here. He said, "Our culture is thoroughly saturated with advertising. Each day we're barraged with appeals for our attention, and every appeal claims in some way that it offers something new or better or both." And I would add that these messages, this advertising, tries to tell us a problem in our life and give us a solution as well, right? And so it makes it captivating. It makes it enticing. That's what these messages are aimed to do. All right, I need you all to pitch in with me here. Who are these advertisements coming from? Who do you see these from on the daily? You see 5,000 per day. So who is doing this?
It's Google.
Google?
Actually, Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, yes.
YouTube.
Jeff Bezos and Google. Yep, pretty umbrella statements there. Pretty much.
A lot of delivery boxes. It's a big thing.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't think about that one. Delivery boxes for sure. Even down to the stickers on our packaging, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, even the Amazon sticker is like that A to Z with the smiley face, right? We got you covered. You don't have to go anywhere else. We've got you covered from A to Z.
Yep.
You can shop here. We're your one-stop shop. Any other ideas you want to add? Who?
There's
Who
lots of
is
medicine.
advertising? Medicine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we need to feel better from
You
this
need
medicine.
this or you need that. Yeah, you need this, you need that.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably like any content creator with more than like 1,000 followers is probably doing ads for, I mean, not for themselves, but well, actually, yeah, for themselves, for their merch, for their other websites, for their other social media pages. When they get big enough, they get sponsored by larger companies and they start pushing those products. So it's like half the people I follow probably have more than 1,000 followers.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, so who is doing this? And like you just said, influencers have become a thing on social media. Now they're pushing, they get sponsored and then they get to push the product or whatever, or the service. And we've got these advertisements. Who's doing it? Podcasts, radio forever, TV forever, social media. I like that addition. I didn't think about the packaging even at your door. Everything is trying to get you back into making it the main thing or the main place that you find security, that you find comfort, that you find to be your way of life. What are they selling? Chocolate. What are they selling? We kind of went over that. So Adam said there's medicine. I kind of just mentioned it. All of these, just so we don't go down a rabbit hole, are what are they selling? They're selling you something better, something new, something captivating to keep you coming back for more, to keep you going, oh, it's intended obsolescence, it's called, right? Let's make this. Why does everybody have to go get a new iPhone all the time? Because now there's a new and better one. We've got to go stand in line and get it. You guys know this. They're selling something to get you to come back. It's not everlasting. When are they advertising this to you guys? If we see 5,000 a day, I mean, that's a lot. That's got to take up most of our day, right? When are they selling this to us?
In every instance possible.
Boom. Every waking moment. Because 5,000, upwards of 5,000 ads has got to take up your entire day. Where are they selling it? Kind of a similar answer. Right? Everywhere. Were you thinking that? Every waking moment, well, it's everywhere, even down to the packaging, like Judah said. Why? Because they want us to come feel like they're what offers something everlasting, even though it really doesn't. Here's some more fill-ins. and guesses. Give me your guess on here. Currently, Facebook generates over how much percentage of its revenue from ads?
90%.
90%. Any other guesses?
75.
75?
Yes. 20.
20?
I'd say 90 and then 100.
What 90 and then 100?
Well,
For
yeah,
Twitter?
the 2 blanks.
And you're saying for Twitter 100%?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
85.
85 is right on the money for Twitter. Facebook generates over 98% of its revenue from ads, and Twitter generates 85%. So companies know that want to get the message in your ear and on your eyeballs, you guys are always on the phone or always on the computer, always on an iPad, whatever it is, because now especially you're having to use it for education and for entertainment and for church and for every category of life. And so your eyeballs are always on these things. Well, we got to get our content on there so they see it, so they feel they need it, so they feel like we're going to be the place that's the main thing that they can keep coming back to. We can cover everything from A to Z. And that's not only Amazon. That's, everybody that's trying to advertise. Everybody that's trying to get a voice in your life and be the main thing. But John 10, where we learn about Jesus being the good shepherd, says the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will never follow a stranger. Instead, they will run away from him because they don't know the voice of strangers. Again, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing to buy off of Amazon or to find things you like to purchase and you like to invest in. That can be a good thing, but we have to recognize we need to run away when it's the main thing in our life, when these things become the main voice, when we listen to them more than we listen to the truth of the gospel and what Jesus teaches. Now, here's a practice that will help you figure out what are the main things in my life right now. Is the gospel the energizing joy of my life? Is Jesus' voice the main voice in my life? You don't have to answer these questions to me right now, but you can journal these. You can think about this right now. What do you think about when you can think about whatever you want? What do you think about when you can think about whatever you want? That's going to be a good test of what is most important to you, what you believe is the most important message in your life, what's the most important person or thing to listen to. Again, another question that will help you. What do you love to talk about? Like, I'm a nerd for fantasy football, okay? Every waking moment, every day, I want to listen to a fantasy football podcast. And when I'm super bummed and I'm depressed when my fantasy football podcast I listen to isn't on that day because I'm too cheap to be a Patreon supporter and buy the extra shows like a lot of people. So I got to wait for the normal shows to come out, right? That's what I love to talk about. And so that kind of shows that I need to talk about that less, think about that less, not let it be the main focus of my morning, not let it control my morning. Jesus needs to control my morning. That time needs to be with him. It shouldn't be I wake up and I check my team or I try to listen to a podcast, right? So I got to preach to myself during this kind of workshop as well. That's just an example. What are these things for you? What do you think about when you can think about whatever you want, and what do you love to talk about? It's a good practice to help you navigate that, understand where you're at. Here are some symptoms that you might be feeling when your life is not gospel-centered. It's easy to spot. Do any of these describe you right now? You often lack joy. You're not consistently growing in spiritual maturity. Your love for God lacks passion. You're always looking for some new technique and some new truth or some new experience that will pull all the pieces of your faith together. Right? This shows that you are not on a steady foundation. Your daily habits, your daily life are not being energized by the joy of the gospel. You're trying to piecemeal your faith life together, and it's breaking down. So we've got to understand that. Got to take an inner look at what's really going on. Do you feel these things? Well, it's probably because your life isn't centered around the good news. It's not centered around Jesus being the main voice in your life and his message being the main message that defines your life, okay? And we'll talk about that more as we go. All right, C.J. Mahaney again. From his book, if there's anything in life that we should be passionate about, it's the gospel. And I don't mean passionate only about sharing it with others. I mean passionate in thinking about it, dwelling on it, rejoicing in it, allowing it to color the way that we look at the world. Jerry Bridges also says the gospel is not only the most important message in all of history, it is the only essential message in all of history. All of those messages we just talked about, all the advertisers, why we see over 5,000 ads per day right now, they're all trying to be the only essential message in your life. They're trying to fight for that attention and fight for your eyeballs and your ears so that you listen and look to that more than you look to Jesus. Jesus doesn't get to be a category in your life like the rest of those things that we look at. He goes on to say, yet we allow thousands of professing Christians to live their entire lives without clearly understanding it and experiencing the joy of living by it. Again, you look at that list that we just had on the presentation. You lacking joy. You feel like your passion for God isn't really there. Well, we're not experiencing the joy of the gospel being the energizing force of our life, okay? Paul is talking to the church in 1 Corinthians 15 here about the gospel that needs to be the energizing force, the energizing joy of your life. And by the way, before I read off this, do we have Lincoln in here now? Didn't see if he joined. Okay, I don't see him. Be on the lookout for Lincoln, please. Oops. Okay, 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 6. Now I want to make clear for you, brothers and sisters, the message I preached to you, which you received, on which you have taken your stand, and by which you are being saved. If you hold to the message I preached to you, unless you believed in vain, for I passed on to you as most important, what I also received, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day according to the scriptures, and then he appeared to Cephas, then to the 12, and then he appeared to over 500 brothers and sisters at one time. This is not just a story in a storybook. There's witnesses involved here. This is the scriptures pointing to, over the entire course of the scriptures, to Jesus, and the culmination happens in his crucifixion and his resurrection. This is the gospel. This is the exciting good news that we all know that we're going to die. We all know that we're broken. We all know there's something wrong with us. And Jesus says, I'm the answer. I'm here. I'm the good shepherd. I'm here for you. I'm laying down my life for you on the cross, beating death. And now you can be with me in beating death as you believe on me. There's another quote from C.J. Mahaney, reminding ourselves of the gospel that we just talked about is the most important daily habit we can establish. If the gospel is the most vital news in the world, not your Twitter feed, not any other social media, not the advertisements on the TV, not anybody else's perspective on your salvation, or what's the best thing, what's the greatest thing to invest in. The most vital news in the world, and if salvation by grace is the defining truth of our existence, we should create ways to immerse ourselves in these truths every day. The gospel is all of God's promises coming to fruition to all who respond to his wonderful plan for this salvation. Talking about reminding ourselves daily of the gospel, Jerry Bridges also says, to preach the gospel to yourself means that you continually face up to your own sinfulness and then flee to Jesus through faith in his shed blood and righteous life. I remember when I was younger, around your guys' age, 15 or 16 years old, and Tim Tebow was a huge personality. And he said on an interview, because he always used his platform on TV to preach the gospel somehow, some way. And I don't know Tim personally. I don't know his heart, but he definitely talks about Jesus every chance he gets on TV. And I remember people asking him what makes him so successful. And I think at this point he had moved from the NFL to baseball. And he said, well, it doesn't matter, like all my success in getting a Heisman Trophy or being an NFL quarterback or now playing baseball at this level. The greatest choice you can make in your life to live a successful life is to follow Christ. And like, that's really all you need to know, like we can do this workshop and look at statistics, and this is really like going deep with it. But that is a quote that helps us understand every day how to preach the gospel to ourselves every day. Because I'm going to live a successful life, regardless of what I'm doing, regardless of anything, if I'm listening to Jesus first and foremost. If like 1 Corinthians 15 says to me, I'm taking seriously that this is the message, that's the main message for my life that I need to take hold of. And then I'm also reminded of Tony Alexander's analogy of, I don't remember how long ago, some months back, he came and he was a guest speaker at our youth group on a Wednesday night, and he brought that compartmentalized cabinet. Maybe some of you guys in here remember that. And he talked about how there's these different compartments and categories of our life, but Jesus is not in a category, and we try to shove him into one of these cabinets, just like anything else we have to do in life. Our career, our responsibilities, our chores, our relationships, our friendships. It was like, Jesus isn't in this category. Jesus is the actual box. Everything is within. So we have to operate in all of these different categories of our life from the gospel of Jesus, from that good news about what he tells us about our salvation that he's given us. And so that is how we're going to level up in keeping the main thing the main thing. The gospel needs to be preached to ourselves every day. What Jesus has done, what it means for our life, how we can't shove him into a category. And reminding ourselves of those two questions. What am I loving to talk about right now? And what was the other one? What am I?
You got to be spending time with it. You got to be spending time with him.
Hmm.
Spending time in the Word.
I talk to him throughout the day too. Let him talk to him about how my day is going, what's going on.
I don't know. I find it like Kayla said, almost every time something changes in my day, I pray. So I get up in the morning, I pray. I eat my breakfast, I pray. Before I go in my car to go to work, to walk into work, I pray. When I get out of work, I thank the Lord for my day. I come home, we pray over dinner. So like I'm constantly speaking to him throughout the day as my day changes.
I kind of have to laugh at myself many days when I haven't prayed like the entire day and I'm feeling like really down and feeling like I'm not knowing how to handle a certain situation in the day that's came up. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have access to God at any time. Totally forgot. So that's totally true. Kayla and Adam bringing that up. You guys can talk to him at any point in the day. And I often forget about that. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then guess what? When I do pray, he totally like figures it out for me, because I'm actually leaning into the Father that wants to lead me. And I'm not trying to figure it out on my own anymore. He actually wants to lead us, and we have to actually say it out loud. That's so true. And pretty much all the quotes that we mentioned in this workshop so far were about creating ways, like Becky said, to make sure that you are spending time with Jesus. We've talked a lot in these workshops online about actually building, especially that Want to Be Friends workshop, right? You guys mentioned all the years that you spent working on your craft, you musicians in here, all the years that you spent actually knowing how to play an instrument. But we don't spend all the time, we don't carve out the time like we do for a piano lesson or a violin lesson to spend time with Jesus. And maybe that's something that needs to click for you guys. Like, oh, I need to actually carve out an hour every day like I do for my music to give to God. Do that and see how much better you feel, how much more joy you have in your day, how better you are with people. Yeah, this one's an honestly pretty simple one. Like, just make more time for Jesus. Like, you know. But I needed to give the stats. Like, it's crazy how many voices, over 5,000 voices a day, are trying to get a hold of you and make sure you're carving out time for them, when we have to carve out time for Jesus first and foremost. It's the most important message. Keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how much of those advertisements do you think are actually faith-based? So few. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you can go through and clear out ad after ad after ad, and you still won't get to a faith-based ad.
Well, and here's the thing with that I was thinking about earlier. We have to make sure that we are leading and talking to ourselves about what we are listening to. We have to make the choice, especially when there's 5,000 not faith-based advertisements trying to get our attention, right? So we have to choose what we listen to. And that's super, super hard. You have to think about that every single day. And the advertisers, how many of these advertisements heard what you said out loud or what you Googled, and then you see it on your Facebook or your Instagram? I said I liked that Jeep one day, and that same Jeep SUV was on my Instagram feed the entire day. So am I listening to Jesus and his message more than what all these advertisers are listening to me and what they think I want and trying to pull me into? We live in a world that listens to us more than we actually try to listen to those advertisers. They're trying to already get ahead and be preemptive on what they think we need. Now, a lot of the students in here, especially last workshop, said they don't even have social media, so maybe they're being saved by that. Saved from that, I should say. But it'll still get you. You guys have to use iPads a lot, Google Chromebooks for your education right now. These ads know how to come for you, know how to listen. There's a reason that Proverbs says that the voice of this woman is enticing. And I bet Proverbs was talking about Siri. Judah, Logan, Kayla, you guys have any thoughts? How do you guys make sure that that you're spending time with Jesus on the daily, or trying your best?
I think for me, an important thing to focus on is why you're focused on what you're focused on. So
Yeah.
for me, I constantly am thinking about career and finances. A, because it's just something that I'm really interested in, passionate about, but also B, because it is like a comforting thing to me. Where if I'm always thinking about finances and careers, then I feel like I have some amount of control over those things. And if I have control over those things, then I'll have control over my life, right? And so it's important to stop yourself in that train of thought and ask yourself, well, why am I thinking that? Or why do I feel like I need control over my finances and my career? And it's because I'm afraid of not having control, or I'm afraid of, before I met Logan, before I met anybody here, I was like earth-shatteringly poor. I was near homeless for most of my childhood, and then I was way closer to homeless when I moved out of my parents' house for a long time. And so it's just something that I'm constantly thinking about, constantly anxious about never wanting to backslide, about always wanting to make more money the next year than I do now, or have a better job next year than I do now. And so it's important for me to realize that those thoughts come from a place of fear and of fear of losing control. So a healthy substitute for that, which is something we talk about in Weight Watchers too, is healthy substitutes. Speaking of cults.
Professional transition.
Yeah. No, is the shake I'm trying to sell. No, an important substitute for that way of thinking of, well, instead of constantly being obsessed about getting a better job and making more money so that I'm not in as tough of a situation as I was in my younger years, maybe instead start focusing on God and how much He's provided for me and my wife and my friend and my family and everybody that I know, and how much that He continues to provide for us. And in times when I'm feeling anxious, instead of hopping on Indeed and looking for the next job that I can do that'll make me 10 cents more a year, or that will, this, that, and the other, instead start focusing on where those thoughts really come from and who really provides for me more than myself or my career.
Weight Watchers, # not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing that, man. I think that's a great way to bring us to a close here. Because what are 110% of the over 5,000 ads per day that we see trying to do? Trying to assume your fears, right? And then give you a solution to the problem you think you have so that you can control your future. And you don't control your future. Jesus controls your future. And that's why Him and the message of His gospel needs to be the first and foremost thing. Because Judah is saying right there, I wouldn't be feeling those fears or acting the way I am if that was first and foremost in my life and in my thoughts, right? And the same with all of us. Jesus is the solution to our greatest problem, and that is what happened at the cross and in His resurrection, was taking care of our sin. Do we still act in sin? Sure, we do. But that's why we have to carve out time to be with Him, to understand what it looks like to live more like Him and to live in a way where we're like, wow, this message from Jesus is the most energizing joy of my life. So I think that's a great place to bring it to a close here. And I do have some things to announce for the coming weeks. We are going to have our season finale of our students online Zoom group next week, which is the 17th, Wednesday the 17th, same time, 7 p.m. Come back here, and we're going to do a workshop from what Lauren suggested. Why should I be a Christian? What's the big deal with Christianity? I think which will be a good jump-off point from this workshop next week. So season finale next week, and then the 24th, hopefully it's not storming like this. Hopefully it's a nice sunny evening. We're going to go to French Creek Reservation like we did last year and have our first hike night of the summer, which will allow us to be a little more physically distant, but still be outside and still be in person for the first time in a long time. And then we are officially reopening, as we have already officially reopened on Sunday services. We're reopening Students at Hope on July 1st. Now, what that'll look like most of July is we'll be outside. and we'll only be together for an hour instead of the 2 hours. So we'll slowly reopen, just like we're slowly reopening on Sundays. And we're going to have 5 guest speakers all through July, including 3 of our students and 2 of our leaders. So Annabelle White, which she's got many friends in here tonight, Caden Drake, and Lauren will be our 3 student guest speakers all of July. And then Kayla and Adam are going to be our guest speakers that are leaders. So we've got a lot of good voices, better than myself, all through July. And then when we get into August, we'll see how things are going, and we want to start getting more and more back to our exciting Wednesday nights that we love. So work with us, pray with us. We want to see July be super successful and then really hit the ground running again in August. So write those dates down again. Season finale on Zoom next week, 7 to 8. Hike night at French Creek Reservation, 7 to 8 on the 24th. Reopen back here at Hope, 7 to 8 on July 1st, and we'll go from there. Judah, you ready? You got something for us here, bud?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Judah's actually going to close us out with a game for a few minutes here.
Yeah.
So we've got some time. We're not quite at 8 o'clock, so take it away.
Well, thanks, Chad. Yeah, it's kind of a game, but it's more an excuse for me to pick your guys' brains about quarantine lately. So the game is just going to be, I'm going to ask 3 questions, and whoever wants to answer can answer, and we'll vote on which answer is the most depressing. So not most, or funniest or whatever. So the first question is, what is the most quarantine meal that you've had during quarantine? Like, for me, it was a bowl of just rice, not seasoned, microwaved, in a bowl that's meant for, like, baking, and I don't know where it came from or when we bought it or what it's for. And I just microwaved that at 10:32 on a Thursday and just really thought about life while I ate it. So what's everyone's most, like, quarantine meal that they've had the last couple of weeks or months?
Well, we had McDonald's at 10 o'clock, midnight, more or less. Expand the points over 2 days, we promise.
It was right after weigh-in.
So 21 points, it was worth it.
Wow. That's impressive.
Chicken nugs and some fries.
That'll do it. That's all it takes.
We eat pretty well in the Hall household. I can't really eat nothing that's not well seasoned and well cooked. It's kind of hard to eat weird, bad food when you're a chef. You're like, well, this just needs a little something. And this just needs a little something before you know you've made like a 5-course meal.
Well, good for you guys.
I made that pancake cereal off of TikTok. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but
Oh, where you make like a million really tiny pancakes?
yeah, it was actually really gross. Don't recommend it.
Did you use milk or syrup?
I used syrup and milk.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's why. That's a little
That'll
weird.
do it.
Soggy? Soggy?
Yes, it was soggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Syrup and milk?
I tried
Man.
the TikTok
You could have
coffee.
used syrup and chocolate milk.
That was good, wasn't it?
Still would have been soggy.
Chocolate
Just would've
syrup.
chocolate.
Make it
I didn't even mention how many ads are on TikTok.
work. Big
So many.
pancakes tricking us all into eating their goods.
I
Big
said,
pancake? Is that
Yeah.
a thing?
Aunt Jemima's like, make these
Big-
pancakes.
This quick. This quick.
Remind herself. Okay.
Well, it was like 100.
I would say for now, I'm going to give Lauren a loose win on that one. Because that is, you wouldn't make that if you could do anything else. Like,
No,
go outside, you probably
You can win yourself, Judah. I think you won that category.
I don't want to announce myself. I mean, I obviously won, but I feel like it'd be unfair to award myself. All right. What is the most unhealthy your sleep pattern got over the last 2 months?
Taylor probably could beat that one.
I'll throw my head into the ring right away.
Wow.
For the most part, because I'm an essential worker, my sleep pattern stayed pretty good. But there was one particular night where I stayed up doing some chore around the house, and then as I was about to go to bed, I'm supposed to go to bed at 10:30, and it was 11, and I was like, you know what? I haven't done something for me in a while. I deserve to play video games. So then I played video games until about 12:15, which isn't that late, but it was late enough that I was scared that I would miss my alarm. And then being scared that I would miss my alarm caused me to not be able to fall asleep. And then then at 2 in the morning, Logan was still awake, but she works later in the day than I do. And she just saw me pacing between the bathroom and my room, over and over again. I was like, I don't think I can sleep. And I was really, it turned out being okay. But for the most part, it was pretty good sleep regimen, except for that one pretty bad night.
Dude, that's the worst when you're trying to talk yourself into sleep, and then you're like, I'm making it worse.
Yep.
Oh, I hate that so much.
Well, then you're like, I'll get out my iPad or I'll get out my phone and it'll get me relaxed. And then before you know it, it's another 2 hours of dinking around.
Yep.
And you bought something and you don't even know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody in the world advertised to me that I should binge shows. So when I binge shows during quarantine, that's when I stayed up late. Because you got to watch the next one, especially because I chose too good of shows that I had never watched before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one show we watched like that. Yeah, we were up to midnight for a week straight. Kids get up at the same time whether we want to get up or not. So
yeah.
It was what, 3 or 4 nights we watched McMillions, the documentary.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my dad loved that.
Oh my gosh,
It was so
crazy.
good.
it was surprisingly good for a show about McDonald's.
It wasn't about McDonald's.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna see ads now. I shouldn't have said that.
I know. I do love the syrupy buns and the McMuffins, though. Ooh.
They're really good.
Speaking of little pancakes.
I think the McGriddle is the only. I've gotten really good at avoiding most foods that are bad for me. But if I'm on my way to work and I forgot to pack breakfast, and I even see the word McGriddle on the sign, I'll be late to work. I'll quit my job. I'm going. I'll jeopardize my well-being to get it.
Now the question is, are you just the sausage, or I go sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle? I go all out.
Oh, okay. Go all out.
I am so glad you asked this question. So, I don't put anything else on it because that costs money, and I'm not about that life. So what I do is I ask for the jam. I put a little bit of jam on the McGriddle.
Oh, baby.
Baby.
It's just the bun?
Right. Just a little bit of jam and a piece of sausage and 2 McGriddles pancakes. Makes yourself.
Oh, wait, so you put jam on
with the sausage?
Absolutely, I do. Yes.
And put that in your milk.
Put that in your milk. Yeah. All right, and then let's see. Going away from sleep. Those were the 2 main questions. How long did it take for you guys to start talking to yourself? Unless
is there a short enough time to express this?
For me,
3 minutes, 5 minutes?
It was before quarantine started.
Yeah.
I guess the other question is, what's a weird thing you started doing at day 5 of just being by yourself? Is there anything that you started doing that was weird?
I made all of my friends and family on Sims so that I could talk to them.
On Sims?
Did you make us? Did you make everybody?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
You have to screenshot us all and send it to us.
I will.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It happened really fast.
It was very fast.
This got away from us very fast.
I didn't mind that she made me on Sims. I just kind of minded that she put me in a dog crate in the corner. That was a little uncomfortable. No, she didn't.
No.
It was what, day like 45 before I had to give my son a haircut at home?
Yeah.
That's
I
fine.
did pretty good. I did pretty good.
Yeah, she did really good.
I did a good quarantine cut.
It's good.
I wouldn't let her cut mine.
He would not, there's zero trust. He would not let me cut his hair.
I'm gonna have to go talk to Bob about that.
So,
I told her she could cut the top, but she couldn't shave the sides, which meant she couldn't do it.
I said I would give him a scissor cut, and he was not interested.
Okay, we're on cut number 2 of just buzzing it down.
Hey, it works.
it's a good one. That
I'm sure
honestly,
it saves you $30 or whatever. So
Yeah, so far.
bro, legitimately, it's like you got a Michael Chiklis thing going on. It's
I don't know who that is.
Chickless, I love it.
post quarantine, man. Keep it up. It legit looks really good.
You don't know Michael Chiklis?
Nope.
Wow.
The Thing
The
from
Shield?
Fantastic
The
Four?
Shield?
Or Shield?
Which one is
Okay.
Are we
He's
talking
the main
about
character in The Shield.
Yeah, dude.
Fury?
Yeah, I should stipulate. You look like the Shield, Michael Chiklis, not
Yeah.
Dish Michael Chiklis.
Oh, is that Coulson?
Not The Thing.
Or whatever his name is?
Not the
We'll screenshot you a picture later, Jacob.
Yeah,
All right.
It's a good
All
look.
right.
Side by side.
We
The
got
side
you.
by side detailed analysis. Systematic haircut analysis. That's what I need.
See if I can.
I definitely was telling myself what day it was at least 5 times a day for a long time.
I
Wow.
always forget days of the week, especially when I'm off. What day is it? I don't have to go to
One
work.
of them.
I started
You
watching.
need a younger
like,
Michael
baking
Chiklis.
videos.
Baking videos?
Yeah. And
Did you
I'm like,
did you bake your own bread?
No, I made a dessert
Shield.
though.
What'd you make?
Ooh.
Like a cookie dough Oreo brownie thing.
That sounds like a lot of points.
Goodness.
Go on.
That sounds amazing.
All of the
great.
desserts. It's
I'm
called a
gonna eat
3-in-1
no ice
cookie.
cream after this. But
Jacob,
You can't see
There he
that
is.
in this.
That's okay. That
I'm
is
not that buff.
difficult. To...
Can't see.
I made so much banana bread. It's crazy.
oh, I made so many
Oh,
things. Yeah. I was like, hey, I made cupcakes today. Hey, I made brownies today. Hey, I made. Becky's like, what are we gonna do with all this stuff? It's all in the freezer. Cookies, brownies, cupcakes, they're everywhere. I baked for a while.
Yeah, man. I run every day. That was like what I tried to do in quarantine so I could really get fit. But I also developed the habit of making 2 large scratch pizzas every Sunday that would last till like Tuesday. So I ate pizza half the week. You know?
I'm starting to run.
It balances itself out. I would
The
say.
dream, right?
Right. It's kept me at my weight for sure. So I guess it's fine.
That's how I felt when I was doing strongman training. Is that people told me, they're like, well, if you keep up strongman training and you keep your caloric intake where it's at, you're going to lose a lot of weight. I was like, that's great. Or I could up my caloric intake and stay the same. And there was one particular day where I came dangerously close to just rolling a pizza up like a burrito and eating it whole. Okay, maybe it's time to evaluate.
Better than life choice.
That was pre-Weight Watchers. That was like 2 years.
Oh, you have to try a pizza burrito once.
Yeah.
Oh. They make you want stromboli because that's what that is. Pizza burrito is a stromboli.
That's true. Yeah, if I say that I ate a large
Or
stromboli,
calzone,
that does sound
whichever way you
better.
want to call it.
I rolled up a Little Caesars pizza, ate it like a burrito in the car before.
Just rolled up a Papa John's unsliced pizza.
But yeah.
Pretzel crust.
Yeah.
Oh, missed that.
Ooh.
Don't even.
Oh man.
Miss me some
Now we're gonna have to figure this out. How many slices? How many points per slice?
Stop.
Doesn't matter.
More than gravy.
More than gravy?
More than gravy.
Man, guys, as far as winner goes, I mean, well, let's vote. Let's vote because I'm just going to pick myself. I feel like that's not fair. So let's go around and who do we think had the weirdest quarantine meal? Actually,
You?
Lauren.
I don't know. Lauren's.
Lauren?
Lauren won for quarantine meal, I think.
Yeah.
Lauren ate a bunch.
Mini pancake cereal.
I'll call it. Okay, and then who had the most messed up sleeping patterns?
I was busy doing homework at 2 a.m, but
That's kind of messed up.
I only got 2 hours of sleep for 2 consecutive weeks.
There it is.
There it is. All right.
Their chicken dinner.
Well, Lauren's 2 for 3. We haven't even asked the third question yet, so I think Lauren.
Were you accidentally drinking espresso at like 8 p.m.?
I wasn't accidentally doing it. I was doing it on purpose.
Was this an experiment?
Oh, no.
Quarantine experiment. Can I last 2 weeks fully awake?
And then just as an honorable mention, I want to shout out Kayla's divine experiment of designing all of us in video.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say Lauren wins. I think Lauren wins.
Yeah. Yep. She's
For
2
your
for 2.
prize, you win 100 very small pancakes
that you have to make.
that you are going to have to make yourself.
But you should make it
the first meal deck for
Should make a TikTok. I would watch it.
Are you a TikTok creator?
Yeah, I make some TikToks.
Oh boy, here we go.
A lot.
An influencer over here, dude.
Who was that, Corbin?
3 million followers.
And what was the third and last one? Did Lauren win that one too?
No, Kayla won the last one. She made us all in The Sims.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes.
Screenshots, or it didn't happen.
And then her sim in The Sims started making a tinier version of all of us in an in-game game.
Oh my goodness.
like
Inception.
this too.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, we hope to see you next week. Hopefully you wrote down all the dates. If you have any questions, let me know. We love you.
Love you.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.